You're listening to the Journey podcast. What if the path to better mental health begins with the way you sleep? Stay tuned to find out more. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In today's episode, we explore the crucial link between mental health and a sleep-healthy lifestyle. Our guest, a seasoned expert in this field, unravels the profound impact of sleep on our psychological well-being and shares valuable insights on how to nurture better mental health through conscious sleep practices. We embark on a journey of understanding the intricate relationship between quality sleep and emotional resilience. We delve into practical strategies, tips, and the latest scientific findings that shed light on the transformative potential of prioritizing sleep. Our guest's wealth of knowledge provides a roadmap for anyone seeking improved mental health, offering guidance on creating a sleep-conscious lifestyle and offering a deeper understanding of the profound effects of restorative sleep on our emotional balance and overall quality of life. Dr. Darley is the leader in natural sleep medicine. She combines her knowledge of sleep and circadian disorders with her training as a naturopathic physician to bridge these two fields. She's treated patients for over 20 years, along with training healthcare providers in sleep medicine. Dr. Darley now focuses on teaching people the sleep skills they need to thrive at home, at work, and have a high-quality life. Here is my interview with Dr. Darley. Hi, Dr. Catherine. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because better mental health with a sleep-healthy lifestyle is such an amazing topic for today's episode. I really look forward to chatting with you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. What an important topic, especially then for the holidays, where that tends to really disrupt our sleep lifestyle most of the time. For starters, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and how you came to do what you do today? What's your story?
Yeah, so I'm a naturopathic physician in the States, and I'm so interested in sleep. I have been interested in sleep since the end of high school, and in college, I focused on sleep. And then I went after college and worked in a sleep research center, and we were mostly focusing on children's sleep. And even though we're talking about sleep and mental health, children have that relationship too. Whereas if they are not sleeping well, it increases their risk of developing mental health problems later in life. I was in this sleep research lab working as a technologist, running the protocols and thinking about where would I want to get further training? Would I want to be a PhD researcher? Would I want to be a psychologist? Would I want to be a pulmonologist working on obstructive sleep apnea? Or maybe a psychologist working on insomnia? And one day I was taking the train from New York City home to Rhode Island, and it was late at night and it was all dark out and quiet on the train. And I was just kind of in that ruminating state, thinking about my future and whatnot. And I had this epiphany that I would go to naturopathic medical school and found the field of naturopathic sleep medicine, because it just didn't make sense to me to take such a basic physiological process and use a bunch of high force interventions, pharmaceutical medications that nobody on earth would ever encounter in the natural environment. So that's what I did. I get just a lot of joy out of my work. Everybody needs sleep. And often when people come into the office for their second, third appointment, before they say anything, they just are walking in the door and sitting down in my office, I can tell if they're sleeping better because their whole body stature and posture and energy and the look on their face and just their whole vibe is different when they're sleeping better. And that is just such a gratifying feeling for me to know that I helped them. And now I'm doing a lot more work teaching sleep skills to the public because unfortunately, here in the States at least, sleep is not part of your high school health classes. Sleep is not typically addressed by physicians, even ask about your dietary patterns and your exercise, which I would say sleep is equally important, but it's just overlooked. And I want to change that for people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And what a wonderful journey and the difference that you're making in people's lives. As we know, we can't exist without sleep. So, this is a huge topic for everyone from children to seniors. And I'm very glad we're talking about that today. Now, you touched a little bit on mental health impacts for children when it comes to sleep. So, how is our adult mental health impacted by sleep? Is there a relationship?
There's absolutely a relationship. And in a lot of areas in our health and our sleep, it's a bidirectional relationship. And by that, I mean, if you're not sleeping well, you're at greater risk of having that type of health condition. Or if you have that health condition, you're not going to sleep as well. And that's one of the things we find with mental health. When you look at people who have anxiety, it's about 70%, up to 70% who are having sleep problems. If you look at people who have depression, it's about 90% of people who have depression have sleep problems. So very high prevalence of difficulty sleeping. And those are both subjective complaints and measurable complaints or changes in their sleep. We have 4 sleep stages and we cycle through them about every 90 to 110 minutes. Each of those sleep cycles does a specific function for us. And when you have anxiety or depression, it will change the percentage of time that you spend in each of those sleep cycles. So you're not getting those basic functions met, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense when often when we're not feeling well and we sleep, but we wake up feeling like we didn't get any rest. So that makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. Now, what is the most common sleep problem that people come to you with? Is there something that you have noticed that gets a lot of complaints compared to other things?
I would say that there's a differentiation between the most common sleep problem and the most common complaint. So to answer your question about the complaint, the most common complaint in my work is a sensation of insomnia, where it's taking a long time to fall asleep at the beginning of the night. We consider it normal to take anywhere up to 30 minutes, but people are taking longer than that. Or they're falling asleep easily, but they're awake in the middle of the night. Or a third presentation is when you sleep pretty well the first hours of the night and then you wake up too early. You're not refreshed, but you just can't get back to sleep. That would be called a sleep maintenance type insomnia. That complaint is about 15% of people. 10% of people have chronic insomnia, which is where it's lasted more than 3 months. One thing I see with insomnia is that oftentimes it can start in response to some kind of stressor, either a stressor, a good event, getting married, having a baby, exciting new job, etc., or a distressor, a loss, job change, move, etc. And sometimes when that insomnia is associated with a event that people anticipate would disrupt their sleep, they don't get right on fixing their sleep because I think, well, once I get adjusted to this new situation, my sleep will improve. But by the time they get adjusted to that new situation, they've developed chronic insomnia, which is a lot harder to unravel. So for anyone listening today, if you have recently gone through some type of life event and you're having insomnia problems for the first time, I would encourage you to get treatment for it sooner than later, before it has the opportunity to develop into a chronic insomnia problem.
Yeah. And what can people do? How can they get help if they're noticing that that's what's happening for them? I mean, there are obviously the over the counter sleep medications that you can get, which is probably not ideal. So, what should people be doing in that situation?
Behavioral therapy is the first line recommended treatment. If somebody wants to go to a behavioral sleep medicine specialist, there is a website, behavioralsleep.org. You can select the provider tab and select your country, and it'll have providers in your area. And this is an international website. The other thing to do is to adopt a sleep healthy lifestyle, which we'll go into a little bit more later on, some of the features of that, and just really tighten up your sleep, even in the midst of going through the move or the life event. There's some basic principles of sleep that when we do them, our sleep improves. And you can do that even without a specialist on your team.
Yeah, amazing. I like that it's international. So, for anyone out there listening outside of the US, also be sure to check that out as a resource. And I am wondering, in this day and age where there is a lot of global stress, we have economic concerns, war, natural disasters. Do you find that people are coming to you more often now with sleep concerns? Are you finding that this is increasing?
Yes, it's definitely increasing. And even the climate crisis is associated with greater sleep complaints. Here in North America, we've had a lot of wildfire smoke, and sometimes the smoke goes on for 6 weeks at a time. That wildfire smoke and the particles, the small particles, 2.5 microns, those increase the risk of obstructive sleep apnea and breathing problems during sleep. So there's that physical effect, but then there's the psychological effect of worry about the climate crisis and whatnot that causes sleep disruption itself. Yeah, a couple mechanisms that we're seeing increase of sleep problems with some of these global concerns.
Yeah. So, even more important to have a sleep healthy lifestyle, as you said, especially in these very challenging and trying times where people have so many things that they're worrying about and stressing about. Yeah. Do you want to share with us a little bit about the sleep healthy lifestyle and what that is and what it entails so we can find out a bit more about what we can do to actually have a more healthy sleeping lifestyle?
Yeah, so this is a term that I coined and I love because we can't treat sleep like, oh, it's just what we do at night and the rest of the day doesn't make an impact on our sleep. You're starting to set up your sleep for the next night as soon as you wake up. And this sleep healthy lifestyle includes factors that are going to promote a healthy quality sleep and also circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are those 24-hour fluctuations in our function that really shape our health in many ways and even influence our mental health. And then the last component of a sleep healthy lifestyle is simply getting enough rest. Here in the US, it's 36% of adults who are only getting 6 hours of sleep or less on work days. And that's not sufficient. It's probably 2% of human beings, adults, who truly do fine with 6 hours of sleep. The rest of us need more. We need 7 to 9 hours typically. And each person has a set point. So we can determine what is our sleep set point. For me, I'm about 8.25 hours of sleep. That's has me at my best. I'm not being sleep deprived. And it really impacts all domains of your life, your physical performance, driving safety, sports, etc., your cognitive performance, everything from simple memory, remembering the mail carrier's name, to complex problem solving, reading those research papers. I know you're working on your dissertation. That is a lot of analytical work that is hard to do when you're not well rested. Then the last areas I think about are your physical health, from diabetes, obesity, hypertension, mental health, as we're talking about, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, PTSD also has a strong sleep component. And then the last domain that I don't want us to overlook, and certainly can feed into mental health arena, is our emotional intelligence. That is also impacted. How well we're able to identify the emotions that other people are having, how well we're able to respond appropriately, impulse control, all of that is also impacted by sleep. So the first step of a sleep healthy lifestyle is to identify how much sleep do you really do best with. You can think back to a time that you were well rested, maybe a vacation or a work break that you weren't super busy traveling, but you were just able to get all the sleep that you needed. You can also, if you're waking up to an alarm, you're not getting enough sleep. So you can slowly increase your time in bed, maybe 15 minutes every 3 days or 4 days, until you're waking up before your alarm, ready to wake up. I think that's a novel idea for people, that if you're waking up to an alarm, you haven't gotten enough sleep. And it would really change our culture if everybody was getting enough sleep. The other tip you can use to try to figure out how much sleep you do best with is look at how much sleep you're getting on weekends and days off. That's probably closer to how much sleep you need on the regular. Shall I go into some other features of a sleep healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm finding this really fascinating, especially because the alarm has already this. When I set an alarm, I already almost feel like I'll be torn out of the middle of my sleep to get up for the alarm. So I anticipate the fact that there will be this interruption. So as you're speaking about that, I'm actually thinking about that, going, yeah, that does actually impact my sleep when I set an alarm. So fascinating. That was step one, right?
Yep. So that's the first piece.
Mhm.
The next piece is to get your circadian rhythm more aligned with your sleep. And this is an area, Petra, that is just going to explode in the next 3 to 5 years. The research is in, but the public health and the public awareness is just starting to grow. So some of the principles are: you want to get bright light as soon as possible after you get up, because that clues to your body it is time to switch into daytime physiology. It is the beginning of that 24-hour period, and it synchronizes you with the external environment. We need that signal. You may know people who are blind and aren't getting that light signal, they have sleep problems because of missing that signal. So it's very important. And one of the things that's really changed for the human experience over the last, say, 150 years or so with electric light is that we're now spending most of our time indoors, which is relatively dim light conditions compared to outside. Typically, we want people to be getting 250 lux or more of light. Lux is a measure of light. And that is a very brightly lit room. Most people in a room that's 250 lux would say, please turn down the lights, it's too bright. Whereas if you go outside is at least 10,000 up to 30,000 lux on a bright, sunny day. We're in these abnormal light conditions. So in the first 2 hours, 20 minutes of outside light, and then every couple hours, at least 10 minutes outside. And a common question is, well, I sit next to a window or I'm in the car a lot. Aren't I getting enough light? No, you're not getting enough light if you're in a built environment, hands down. Get light during the day. And then within our body, we have different layers of our circadian system. The light really impacts the central pacemaker, which is in the brain. But these other layers of our circadian system, from the cellular level to the organ level, those are more synchronized by cues from meal times and exercise. So across all 7 days of the week, you want each meal to start within a 30-minute window. So for instance, breakfast starts between 7:30 and 8 all 7 days of the week. whatever time you choose is fine, but it needs to be standardized. And I think in the past, I think this might be changing a little bit now, but I think in the past, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was a certain cachet about having an irregular schedule and just going with the flow and be like, I eat when I'm hungry, I work when I feel inspired, etc. And human physiology is not designed for that. Like that might feel like a cool idea, but that's just not what human beings thrive on. Our system, our circadian system, needs those regular cues. In a sleep healthy lifestyle, you choose 3 or 4 times that you're going to eat, and you just have them in the schedule. If you are someone who struggles falling asleep at night and you're more of a night owl, but you want to be more of a morning person, having your meals earlier in the day is actually going to shift your body clock earlier. The other piece about light is darkness. For the 3 hours before bed, we're supposed to have 10 lux of light or less. That is equal to 10 candles. That is not very much light. So one of the things that I really encourage people to do is to wear blue blocking glasses such as these so that their system gets the sensation of sunset and they can start switching into nighttime physiology. I think to get 10 lux for 3 hours before bed, you would have to turn off all of the screens in your home, TV, computers, handhelds. You'd have to significantly turn down the lights in your home. And I think that's an ideal strategy if you can. But for many people, 3 hours before bedtime, they're still really in the active part of their day. And it's just not realistic to turn down the light levels. So the blue blocking glasses can be a good alternative. And then I do like for at least the hour before bed to turn down the lights and have it be quiet time, wind down time. The way that I use alarms in my household, in my lifestyle, is I do use an alarm once a day for the hour before bed to signal, okay, it is time for wind down time. Turn off whatever you're doing and just do restful activities. That makes a big difference in the quality of sleep.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking about having also TV in the bedroom, and that's quite bright. So even though you're laying down and you're getting the sensation of now is relaxed time, now is sleep time, there's still that brightness going on in the room. So that could be quite distracting as your body's trying to wind down. So but 10 candles really is not very much. So you really would have to turn down everything, which could be quite complicated for 3 hours. Most people are probably still running around doing chores, trying to get their kids to bed, and it could be quite a busy
or
time.
Teenagers are doing homework, or people are doing their shopping lists online or something. Another strategy, and I use this also, I have in the living room and in the bedroom, I have special lights that are just for wind down time. They're torchiere type lamps, or one room has kind of a little like Christmas tree lights, string of lights that are dim yellowish hued. And those are what we turn on for that hour before bed. And it's a nice mood, actually, to have that yellowish light, dim light. It really just instantly kind of brings the energy down. And part of that bringing the energy down is physiological, that when in a natural light environment like camping or human history, before bed, when the lights starts to dim, our melatonin can start to rise. And melatonin is called the hormone of darkness. It helps us feel drowsy. It helps us sleep. And we want that melatonin to be coming on before we hit the sheets.
Yeah, so that's a really good idea with the string lights. It sounds really cozy too, so your body can kind of start settling into that more quiet environment. Yeah. Now, I am curious, as women, are there any special challenges that we face when it comes to sleep? Is there any concerns that are unique to women when we're talking about sleep?
I'm so glad you asked that, because women at the start of menarche, when they start getting their period, early teens, they have more sleep complaints than men do, and that stays steady the rest of their life. Part of it is due to hormone fluctuations. Both progesterone and estrogen have an impact on both our sleep and our circadian system. So there's that physiological, but then there's also some of the lifestyle expectations. Women tend to have more responsibilities working and more care responsibilities at home, and other factors that more likely to have mental health issues, and that relates back to the sleep. So there's many mechanisms by which women have more sleep problems over the course of their lifespan. And women's sleep problems are more underdiagnosed than men are. In general, sleep problems are underdiagnosed. In women, it's more of a problem than in men.
Yeah, I've noticed that since starting perimenopause, awake every night at 3 a.m., no matter what. That has been a very interesting challenge. So I was just thinking, I think as women, we do face some special challenges when it comes to hormones and lifestyle. So yeah, that's very, very interesting. Now, are there any cutting edge ideas that you are learning about that you're implementing with clients? Anything new that's come along in the research of sleep and that you are being made aware of and using in your own practice to improve sleep?
I think it's really the cutting edge is the circadian rhythms and what we can do to implement a lifestyle that really strengthens our circadian system. There's just more and more research every week on how sensitive our circadian system is to the environment, and how when we're in a state of misalignment, which most of us are if we're living in a house or an office with electricity, that is going to shape our health, mental health, sleep health, metabolic disease, cancer risk, all of that. And so that's what I'm really trying to help people understand and know the tips and tricks. Things like if you're exercising in the evening, which is for many people when they have the chance, if you're exercising after 7 p.m., it's going to push your body clock to be more of a night owl. And watching TV and using the computer before bed is also going to push you to be more of a night owl. So we have all these lifestyle habits that are pushing people to be a night owl, which means they can't fall asleep at the time they need to and still to get enough sleep before bed. They may think I have to get up at 6 for work, which means I have to be asleep at 10, but they're exercising at 7, they're eating late, they're on the TV, they can't fall asleep until midnight. So they're just chronically sleep deprived. And there are things within our control that we can shape our habits that will counterbalance that.
Yeah, especially considering how important sleep is, it's definitely worthwhile trying to make some of those adjustments to get more sleep and get better sleep. Also preventative for physical, mental challenges, everything around that as well. Yeah. Can you share some of your programs and services that you offer so that if listeners were inspired by this episode and they'd like to get in touch with you or work with you, that they know what you offer and how they can connect with you?
Sure. So I have a series of courses at skilledsleeper.com, and they're customized to different groups. There's a class for women, there's a class for families, police officers, shift workers, corporate leaders, to really give them these kinds of skills, but customized to those different experiences, because certainly each demographic does have different lifestyle, different expectation, different responsibilities, different challenges and barriers. One of the things that I like to have a good conversation with people about is barriers. Do you have a bed partner who is on a different work schedule, and so you want to share the bed, but it's challenging? Those kinds of things where the rubber really meets the road. You have all these recommendations, but how do you implement them? The implementation is often the harder part. And how can you do some workarounds? So you can find me on skilledsleeper.com for those courses. And then I'm on social media under that name, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc., for some small daily tips and inspiration.
Amazing. And we will be linking to all of Dr. Catherine's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there on how you can find her courses. I love that they're individualized because a lot of professions actually have very challenging sleep patterns that we might not even think about. And then it can cause all sorts of ripple effects. So love that individual approach to sleep there. And we will put all the links there so that you know how to get in touch, how to find the courses. And if you'd like to work with Dr. Catherine, we'll put all of that in the show notes for you. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed this journey into better mental health with a sleep healthy lifestyle as much as I have. It has been fantastic chatting with you on the podcast today, Dr. Catherine. Thank you so much for all this wisdom and knowledge around sleep that you brought us today. I really enjoyed our episode, and I hope the listeners have found this really helpful for themselves as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope all of you are inspired to do at least a little bit towards improving your sleep and therefore mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. What an important topic. And I hope listeners re-listen to this episode a few times too to make sure they get all the nuggets and all the tips out of it. So thank you so very much and take care, Dr. Catherine.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.